already. Fuck.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What's up? We have successfully crawled out from the slewage of shit, and it is raining down on us in a godly manner today. We are getting completely clean. It is great. I sent that GIF out like first thing this morning. I was like, yeah, it's going to be a good day. And, you know, it's cool because I got Dealer here. Thanks for joining me so early.
No problem.
And I got my bro Hellhammer. I threw a bucket of water on him. I was like, get your ass up. Explain this Scorpio shit to me. It's all very interesting, and people want to know about this stuff. And I think that one of the best things that came out of this is they explained it pretty clear. And as far as what I've seen from the different things that I was able to read on this, they got some stuff right and some stuff wrong. Dealer, which you'll talk about as well. A lot of people are jumping to the Jaguar custom. They're saying, oh, it's just a Jaguar, and they're like acting a little bit disappointed because what it says is it's 8 custom x86 cores clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. It doesn't exactly say Jaguar on the actual spec sheet, but in the video, the Digital Foundry guy speculates that it's kind of a custom Jaguar. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he does directly reference his own quote from a couple months ago before he actually calls it a Jaguar Evolved. And I will say one or two things directly, and you can look this up right now. There is no Jaguar in the world with that much L1 and L2 cache, and Jaguars don't even clock much higher than 2.1 gigahertz anyway without bursting into flames. So this thing, obviously, they're not going to clock it at its maximum possible overclock. No one's going to do that, and especially in a console when you're trying to get something to last 5 to 10 years, right? You're going to underclock things. Because that makes it more durable. So obviously this is more like we had speculated before, some kind of modified Puma, which is what he should have said. It's much more accurate with the cache levels. So it is some kind of advanced, custom-tailored, custom-optimized, DirectX 12 powered Puma on crack is what this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's either way you look at it, it's a customized chip. Basically what Microsoft's done here is they've taken, basically probably over these past year or so, they've probably taken literally every single Xbox One game, ran it through their systems to see where the bottlenecks were hitting, and customized this chip in order to take advantage of the full GPU power, as well as without having to have, super high clock speeds or whatever the case may be. You're going to see a noticeable difference, especially on the games that are patched, but even on unpatched games on this.
Here's the thing, Cameron. This is very important. Maybe the most important thing before you get started, Crap. This is not the same CPU that's in the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Yep.
It has 4x boost in L2 cache and also a boost in L1 cache. It is not the same CPU.
So just in layman's term, what does that mean? Like the cache and all that stuff that you're talking about?
Just basically the way it was built completely differently, and it operates differently with different levels of basically on the die RAM. I guess that's the simplest I could put it.
Yeah.
In terms of cache, it just puts data there. I'm just saying that is proof, and this has been proven on Microsoft's developer portal as well about the cache, that it is not the same Jaguar in the Pro or the X1, which are the same, just clocked differently. This is a different chip, like I said, some kind of advanced custom Puma, which is more than enough for what this thing needs to do.
Yeah, and one thing that was pretty cool was that they were talking a lot about how they ran the Forza engine, right? And what was really interesting was the guys so apparently Turn 10, who are rarely involved with this, apparently they cobbled together a Scorpio from parts and were running a demo. So they managed to put the Forza 6 engine on this thing in 2 days, and then with no optimization whatsoever, they got it native 4K, 60 frames per second with the 4K art assets, and it only took up between 55 and 66% of the GPU, and that is without any optimization. And you're talking about absolutely phenomenal performance. And so he's like, yeah, to see this guy's look on his face, he said he's never seen stuff like this before, the engineering. And you know what? I know you do podcasts with Zaire too, and he's known for saying, Microsoft, be the behemoth that you are. And basically, that's what this guy says. He goes, it's Microsoft being the multi-billion-dollar corporation that they aren't happy with losing ground to Sony, right? Like, you know how everybody, myself included, we're all like, Microsoft really seems like they're complacent. They're not putting up a fight. And then you have the pundits and stuff on NeoGAF and N4G. They're like, well, Microsoft is trying to get out of the console business. And from what I hear from this guy at Digital Foundry, who, I don't know, maybe he doesn't even really like Microsoft, but he says, what he really found interesting was that genuine love that these people have, and they're putting this care and this tech inside this console for the fans. You know what I mean? Like, just
they are some of the smartest motherfuckers in the world.
Yeah.
Think about this. And they're predicted to be the first $1 trillion company in the history of mankind. They're going to put their assets behind it. And you're completely right. They did run Forza 6, basically the whole Xbox One port, pretty much unoptimized with the 4K PC assets. But they did maintain current, basically Xbox One standard texture streaming, which isn't even a big deal. Even if they max that out, it's not that many frames. So I'm just saying they just threw it on there and then threw some PC assets on there to make sure that it was more than capable, and only a 55% to 66% GPU load. This thing, that game in that form, I guarantee you could hit over 100 frames per second, as I show with the RX 480. I think it'd be very similar performance there. That's pretty crazy.
So could it hit the performance of what the hell is that?
Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah, Rainbow Six Siege on the PS4 Pro. that 160 frames per second. I heard.
Unpatched, I guarantee you, the Siege. If it was like 1-to-1 scaling, that game probably would run easily 160, 200 frames. I'm not even kidding. Like with the way this thing is performing right now. So. Who knows?
So the interesting thing that I took also was he's like, because they can show compute units, and when you show the compute units of this thing, it doesn't look like that many more than the Pro. But then he goes on to say, well, Scorpio is actually 43%, has a compute advantage of 43% over the PS4 Pro, which you can imagine what that compute advantage is over the standard PS4. Like, you're talking, how people used to go, oh, well, PS4 is 50% more powerful. Like, literally, this thing is 50% more powerful than the Pro. I mean, none of that bullshit stuff that the Sony fanboys talk, but literally, this thing is 50% more powerful.
I remember that. They got that quote from a developer who said it was 50% faster, and then he went back and clarified, to develop for.
Exactly, 50%.
I mean,
go ahead, Oliver.
We're also looking here that it's not like just it has more compute units. This thing's running at over a gigahertz on the compute units for this.
Before we get too far into this, we should tell these guys what the specs are, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the specs on this thing are let's see here. I got this right in front of me. GPU is a 40 customized compute units at 1172 megahertz, which is that's like the Polaris stuff as well.
Yeah, that's almost the base clock of an actual RX 480, but it's got a 70-plus gigabyte per second memory advantage over the RX 480 8-gigabyte model. That is extremely fast for, just a year or two ago. It wasn't even possible.
It's only a 94 megahertz off from the base clock of the RX 480 too, so it's not a huge deal, really.
Like a year or two ago, bro, it wasn't even a thing for AMD products to run this fast. I'm just saying. So it's running really, really well.
Yeah, and then it says eight custom x86 cores clocked at 2.3 gigahertz CPU. See, it doesn't even mention any kind of CPU name.
Yeah,
just custom.
I don't think this has anything to do with any particular architecture. To be honest, I mean, it may be based off of a particular architecture, but this is more than just an off-the-shelf, CPU or APU or SoC. Obviously, Microsoft put a lot of time and money in development of this. I mean, you can just look at what they've done. They threw a lot of money on this to dev this, so it's obviously something that's going to be work to their advantage. I don't think Microsoft would release something else that's going to be lackluster.
And that's clocked at 2.3, right?
Yeah, 2.3
gigahertz.
Yep. So I mean that's and again they don't say it. Like I'm kind of surprised that he mentioned maybe just the fact that he thinks he was right. So he's like, yeah, and I mentioned this in the white paper or whatever, but he was like wrong on so much stuff on that. You know what I mean? Like he was like thinking it was going to be low clock speeds and things like that, and it ends up not being that. So we have that as well. The memory, 12 gigs of GDDR5, which is pretty damn impressive. Memory bandwidth, 326 gigabytes per second. Hard drive, 1 terabyte. and it's going to use a 4K UHD Blu-ray. So we do have that as well. So that's fucking impressive as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we must mention that the CPU, he spent some time on this. DX12 is going to be a real thing on the CPU. It effectively doubles its computations per second. So, this is a real thing. So that's why we're covering it. DX12, and this is Digital Foundry. You're going to say we're bringing it back to DX12 shit, which I never really peddled. This is Digital Foundry.
I peddled it like a motherfucker, man. I was like, hey, I got some DX12.
Well,
first hit's
you were trolling
free.
shit out of
Yeah.
you half the time. You didn't even know
Yeah.
it. But
First hit's free, and then the rest you got to pay for, bitch. You know what I mean?
But yeah, this dude's telling you the real. You're looking at effectively what can be Vulkan for a console, and I think it'll only get more and more mature and be more. You've heard about Vulkan, right? Literally adding 30-40% to any one GPU's performance in combination with a given CPU. That's real numbers. Doom, you're gaining 20 to 30 FPS. Per second with Vulkan on some cards, and AMD does very well with Vulkan. So this is effectively going to be Scorpio's version of Vulkan, and it's only going to get more and more efficient as time goes on. I'm looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, you know what they said that was kind of cool as well was like DX12 was something that was on the Xbox One or whatever, but DX12 is actually built into the metal, which they said on the Xbox Scorpio, and instead of being hundreds of commands, it's 12 like super easy commands to use. And remember, we were speculating like, how are they going to get these games? Like we've heard Battlefield 1, we've heard Star Wars Battlefront 2. How are they going to get these games to run 4K 60 frames per second? Well, there you go. They're DX12 titles. And the guy even shows them in the video. He's like, so games like Battlefield 1, Star Wars Battlefront, these games that are using DX12, boom, super easy to use. Like this thing is absolutely like blows my mind. I know some people were like, again, the main complaint that I see is, well, it's not Ryzen, it's not Vega,
Look,
blah blah blah.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like I haven't like, and this is the thing. Like me and quite a few other people. I'm gonna shout out to GKB because I see him in the chat, and like we even said that it most likely wasn't going to be Ryzen, and it most likely wasn't going to be Vega because you're looking at super expensive price points at that, even at mass production.
Yeah.
And I've said that time and time again. Right now, was I expected it to be, something custom? Yeah. It's obviously going to be very customized based off of, it's not going to be something you're going to go off the shelf and buy and slap it to a computer here.
Well, we don't know everything, and something that came out after the Pro launch from Cerny was even the Pro uses Vega elements, very small Vega elements. It is not a Vega GPU or APU, but it does utilize some Vega tech, and that's a fact. So basically, we know that Scorpio is going to do the same thing, if not more, and it's only going to be more efficient.
Hey, shout out GKB. He's like, I'm right. I was right. It's not using this and that. And I'm like, all right, dude, you won, man. You got it. Here's the thing. I'm not a tech guy. Somebody was trying to rub it in my face already. They're like, it's not Ryzen. I'm like, okay, I get it, right? Who cares? I'm not a super tech guy, but from what they've done, it's some kind of wizardry. And I think that they should be commended for that. What's up? We have the Don who asked to join. If you guys didn't know, he's a developer. And so, Don, what do you think about this? I mean, we're obviously very excited as a developer. What are your thoughts?
Well, first thing I want to comment on GKB saying he's right. I have to be the first one to say I was wrong on the prediction of the hardware, and I think that's an adult thing to do. You gotta, when you make predictions and stuff like that, you gotta own up to it. I was wrong.
What was your prediction?
I thought they were gonna do Vega and Ryzen.
Oh, really?
My argument on the Vega was, we've always heard about the really high-end version of the Vega GPU. And to me, it made sense to basically take a really powerful GPU and block it down, basically. So that would bring down the cost of the GPU, and it's easier to hit that 6 T.
It'd be more durable as well. I wouldn't say you're wrong, Don. I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far yet. I wouldn't admit it yet. Because as I just said, the Pro utilizes some Vega tech. I would hang on to that one a little bit because you might be a little wrong.
Yeah, but that's, I was wondering on it. And then I thought the Ryzen, like, just because I didn't know how they were going to get anything out of, basically something based off Jaguar. At the end of the day, I mean, this is highly customizable. No one's really comfortable, even Digital Foundry, even though they kind of hinted at it. they're not really saying it's Jaguar, right? It literally is. There's more custom components in that CPU.
Yeah, I mean, you look at
can't
the
call it anything else other than what they're doing. So
yeah, I mean, look at the spec sheet. It doesn't even say it. Just says customized x86 64 8-core CPU. It doesn't say Jaguar. It doesn't mention any kind of what type of cores they're using or what type of tech is going into it.
what's it
Well,
say
I've
to
really
me?
got no clue why he said Jaguar Evolved. It makes no
Yeah,
sense
that's
with
what
the
I'm
cache
saying.
boost
Like
and stuff.
he says it. He's like, and I was kind of right because it's a custom evolved Jaguar. But then when you read the actual spec, it doesn't say anything about it. And I think that might be a little bit misleading. And I don't know if you guys watch this, but there's a channel called Outside Xbox, and they had one of the guys from that talking to the guy from Digital Foundry, and that guy was kind of I thought maybe Hellhammer, because you watched it too. I thought the guy from Outside Xbox was maybe shoving it up this guy's ass a little bit, because he's like, so 900p games on the Xbox One can go native 4K on Scorpio, and then he's like, the guy from Digital Foundry is like, yeah, it can. And then he's like, and he goes, because you know what? The Xbox One really got bashed over the head over that 900p nonsense. So what you're saying is the PS4 Pro can't advertise itself as the most powerful console. And he's like, this holiday, they cannot do that anymore. You know what I mean? Just like,
We know
the
that
guy was
shit,
really
though.
good. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, PS4 Pro, good on you. You had that little bit of whatever, but you half-assed it. As far as I'm concerned, and the fact that Microsoft, like the stuff that they're doing, you could just tell. And like I said earlier, they're back. Like that's a big headline from a lot of places, except for I saw Polygon say something, but you need games or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like every game, man. What they're so hung up on the exclusives that nobody cared about for 3 years, and they don't understand that every game.
Yeah,
These games are all going to be so much better.
Yeah, I mean, look, me and Dealer called this, a month or two ago, like basically, right? The games, even without the patches, those dynamic resolution games are going to be running at the highest resolution and frame rates that the engine allows it, even without a patch, because they're allowing these games to have full access to the power, right? So like PS4's boost mode, it's basically just a small fraction of extra power to try to get a little bit extra performance.
I feel like it's worth reiterating as well. Once again, that it's not the same CPU that's in the X1 or PS4 Pro. 4x boost L2 cache, much faster in every way. Direct DX12 optimization and integration of the protocols. This thing, it's not even on the same level as the shit that's in the Pro. You're going to see 60 FPS be more common for sure.
And like a second cousin, right? I mean,
it's a fucking Puma on crack is what it is, with DX12.
Hey, we have over 1,000 people watching us. That's pretty fucking good. Hit the like button. I'm not sure if that's a record for my channel, but that is.
You can always tell he's like, that's pretty fucking good.
Pretty fucking good. Yeah, I'm always like, wow, you know what I mean? Because like today, I knew that I wasn't gonna have a video plan because I knew I needed people to help explain this stuff. So I'm really appreciative that I have like a developer and 2 technical people. But yeah, go ahead, Hellhammer.
I also want to throw it here because I see a lot of people going, "Oh yeah, well, hitting 4K, 60 is fine, but what about the graphical upgrades?" This thing is, from the tests that we've already had and that the Digital Foundry has seen, they have a 30% plus overhead on their GPU and CPU side to allow for additional textures, and that was running at the equivalent of 4K ultra settings.
Well, hang on. He mentioned in the video that they had those PC art assets loaded into the demo on Scorpio. So that is the graphics part. And secondly, he mentioned that even if you're a 1080p user, all modes will be available to you, including higher graphics options, right? That would obviously fall in there. Obviously, all of these games get patched or not. They don't need patches to do super sampling with some of the built-in tech from some of the leaks we've seen. And like I said, any mode, 60 FPS, better graphics, whatever they have will be available to you no matter what your display at maximum 1080.
Not to mention that even on games, even if it doesn't have dynamic rendering, say the game is locked at 900p or whatever, 30 frames, you're still getting that anti-aliasing on every single game, including the 360 backwards compatible titles.
Yeah, I saw
16x anti-aliasing all titles.
I saw that, right? Like the guy, and I'm like, what's this mean? How Emery goes, well, it's 16 times anti-aliasing on all the games, even the 360 games. And I'm like, is that good? He's like, yeah.
Makes everything
720 games are going to be looking dramatically cleaner if you're a 360 back compat dude. And like I said, that falls into the unpatched. Like I said, it's built into the tech. They don't need to patch these games. it happens automatically, and that's the same you'll see on X1 back compat games as well.
Like, yeah, you hear this guy, and he's like, yeah, he goes, if you look at what the Xbox 360 was, the GPU was far ahead of its time, and a lot of like ahead of what the PCs could do at the time when it launched. Microsoft seems to be going back to that, basically giving you the equivalent of $1,000 PC in here. You know what I mean? And I really like the fact that, you know, they're going all out with the cooling. What did you guys think about the cooling system? Did you hear like they were talking?
Yeah, the vapor chamber.
Yeah, like
impressive.
Yeah.
It's essentially like you said, a centrifugal cooling system, kind of like a blower style, but obviously for a console mass produced. I think this is interesting, and I think you'll see PS4 Pro levels of thinness out of the Scorpio. But obviously, I think it'll make up for it by being a bit longer, maybe a bit longer on the Z-axis, you know?
Well, if you look at the CD on the vapor chamber, that's the biggest thing. So that's what helps distribute the heat away from the CPU, or say the APU. APU. So it allows, I'm sorry, I'm like giddy.
Because you're just waking up, we get it.
Yeah, so basically you're distributing that heat over a distance incredibly fast, because you see copper pipes done before, and that sort of stuff in older consoles, even in your Xbox One S and stuff like that. But what that does is that it's basically, think of like a sandwich, right? You have two pieces of copper, right? And the inside there's a little bit of a liquid. It doesn't fill up the whole thing. It just fills up a portion of it. So what that does is that will evaporate that liquid coolant. It'll hit the top and it'll condensate and then come back and hit down at the bottom. And it's just a quicker way to distribute the heat, but you're able to do it over a greater distance because it's just a giant plate on the inside of that thing.
Yeah,
that is crazy for a console.
Yeah. So it has that, but it's like bigger than anything I've ever seen, like in a PC case at all.
Oh, like, it's going to be extremely small for this power, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this is stuff this type of cooling is usually stuff that people were reserving for, you know, high-end PC components and that sort of thing at this point. So now, I mean, we're stepping into a territory that hasn't been touched yet by a console.
And we got to clarify, it's not fucking water cooled, okay?
Yeah,
no, it's not.
It's not water cooled. They just basically had to find some kind of heat sink that's thin enough to keep this thing as thin or thinner than the X1S, and they've done it with this. This is pretty nuts for a console.
Yeah, I mean, look, the vapor stuff has been around. Like somebody mentions the thing. The vapor chambers have been around for years, but this is the first time it's been done on a mass production system that's meant to go out to people. That's not meant for people to go tinker around in their system, right? Like for instance, the vapor cooling stuff is in
Surface,
the CPU cooler that I have on my computer right now.
But it's also used in
the
Surface tablets and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's used in like the Surfaces and tablets and that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's just this is the first thing that's, you know, a console that's really utilized this kind of feature. I mean, I think that the cooling tech is going to be a big thing, right? Because I mean, obviously keeping the sound down and that sort of thing, and I think Microsoft knows to keep their cooling to absolute maximum now, especially after you know, the 360 issues and that sort of thing.
Well, they kind of have to because the clocks are so high on that thing.
It is, isn't it? Especially for AMD tech, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the clocks are ridiculously high on that. So, and what that means is you have say if you have really inefficient code, right? And a lot of times what happens in an inefficient code, you miss your cycle. Like the way your code's written, you're like, damn it, missed it. You know, and you have to wait for the next one to come around. And that's usually what, you know, inefficiencies happen in games. In this particular case, with such a high clock, you know, it doesn't matter. Boom, just hop on that freeway. You're good to go. Like, you know, like you got the next.
Like there's more taxis on the road, basically.
Exactly. You basically just shuffle them in. It's like no big deal. So,
hey, you missed the last taxi. Get the fuck in. We're going to Domino's.
well, let me ask you guys this, because they're also allowing 8 gigs to developers for actual just game purposes, like 4 gigs for other things. I guess 1 gig is going to be to run the native 4K.
Well, yeah, the 4 gigs is going to be for the OS, and then there used to be 3 gigs for the OS, the dash, and like all that kind of stuff, and they're adding an additional gigabyte of memory, so that way you can run the dash at 4K.
Yeah. So I mean,
it's funny how accurate Xbox Nation is, huh?
Yeah, like I mean,
we said 8 gigabytes for games, possibly 4 for the OS.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, that's going to be really cool because that's going to give developers a chance to actually do so much more on the console. And the fact that you know, so many people were saying it couldn't do native 4K, it wouldn't be able to do that. I think that that's been completely debunked since this console was built from the ground up. Like how they did it was the software tailored, like a software company tailored the software to the hardware, if that makes sense. Like, so they ran all this stuff, all these problems that the Xbox One had, and then they went and created this console. You know what I mean? So it was like, to me, yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, what they did is they took all pretty much. I mean, I can imagine Microsoft probably taking almost all the AAA titles, all these games that are running, you know, at both 1080p and the some 1080p games, you know, the 900ps and probably the rare 720s from the launch date, you know, games, ran these through their software emulator, basically a virtual machine or something similar, seen where the bottlenecks are hitting, and basically it was like, hey, AMD, here's where all the issues where we need to pick this up so that we can hit, you know, all these goals right off the bat.
It's nuts, man, because people question what if you could even do 4K, and now we're finding out that, you know, they're going out of their own way to do 4K on more games. And as we've said on Xbox Nation several times, 4K 30 high settings on AAA games will be common with this thing, and you'll even have some running at 4K 60 as well, high settings. It's just going to be the way of the world when this thing hits. Very interesting, man.
Yeah, so it's like I thought it was really cool because he was complaining, like that guy, I forget his name offhand, the guy with the list for Digital Foundry, but he's like, his big complaint about the Pro was boost mode doesn't work for all the games, not every game, you know what I mean? He's like, and so with Scorpio, that problem is solved. It's like his biggest complaint about the Pro is that it doesn't do that. So with the Scorpio, like all the games are going to get an improvement across the board, and then ones that are specifically patched can easily just go to 4K. So I don't know if you guys noticed this, but apparently today in the Windows Store or something, a bunch of games started showing up there, maybe a little ahead of schedule. And I seen some pictures of that earlier. So I'm thinking that that's meaning some of these games, we're going to get a big batch of games that are going to be patched up with Scorpio patches, apparently. I mean, look, if they can port that stuff over directly in 2 days, like Forza stuff, I can imagine that a lot of these developers are going to want to go back and do that. And then a lot of the games that were the dynamic resolution and stuff definitely are going to run that much better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna run at their full potential, the stuff that's on dynamic, even without a patch, right? So like a good example of that is actually The Witcher 3, right? That runs in a dynamic resolution. That means that thing's going to be consistently hitting the 1080p mark every single time.
Yeah.
Without a 4K display, yeah. And that's rumored to be one of the games that actually gets a patch as well for both graphics and resolution. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That game needs it, man.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, just, you know, like I'm sitting here and I'm like super impressed by it, even though I'm not sure of everything. But Don, like you're a developer. How much easier is it going to be for developers to implement DirectX 12 as being a real thing now that it's down to like built in?
Well, it's not like they have to do anything different. It's just the hardware runs more efficiently. So, so in the situation, like, you know, the thing is, DX12 has been around for 2 years. Last year was its first real year of maturity, if you know what I'm talking about. And engines have been slowly ported over, and so people are learning their libraries. They're learning how to implement DX12 with their engine. They're learning how to utilize more of the tech behind DX12, right? So the games you're going to see the best performance are the ones that have adopted DX12 sooner, right? So it's going to be Unreal Engine. You're now seeing like your second year or close to your second year with
sound a little bit more enthusiastic, Don. Come on.
No, I'm sorry, I'm tired as hell. I was playing Mass Effect late last night too. I hear you. But you know, like was it the Frostbite engine or whatever with why am I so confused right now? It's the one that EA uses on everything.
Yeah,
Frostbite engine.
Yeah, so they're on their second year of doing that, and they're implementing more and more features of DX12, right? So you look at Frostbite, where it's been a heavy resource, right? They've been optimizing in the last 2 years, and then you see the way they're able to basically cut the fat out of communication between CPU and GPU. It's not a surprise that you'll see Battlefront 2 running at that 60 frames per second rumor that you've seen out there. So it's not like they have to do anything extra.
Yeah.
It's the direction and the flow of game development in general. Like I don't have to deal.
And he's right. Like DX12 is getting a lot more efficient too. It's basically like I said earlier. It's like the console, the Scorpio's version of Vulcan, right? When the more and more mature it becomes, you're going to get more and more dramatic results. But like I said, I think it's got a little ways to go, but you got to remember it's Microsoft's API. They're going to master this thing in Scorpio.
I mean, look, here's the thing, right? Digital Foundry even said with the DX12 integration, that literally takes thousands of instructions and cuts it down to just about 10 to 11 instructions. It cuts the rendering workload by half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, they don't need like a lot of people who are disappointed without the Ryzen stuff. They didn't exactly need that, and this could possibly cut down on some of the cost as well.
Yeah, I think
I'm saying it's overkill for a console. You didn't need a fucking Ryzen in a console, unless you're rendering video, like you're fucking making shit and stuff like in the background, like what I'm saying. It's always an overkill.
Yeah, all the Ryzen stuff, that stuff's great, right? Like that stuff is really good for the PC industry and the tech industry as a whole, because it's bringing down prices to develop higher end hardware and that sort of thing by adding the extra competition, because competition's always good. Just like Sony competition, Nintendo, whatever you want to look at it, all this competition is good, because at the end of the day, it's the consumers that come out ahead of it with that, because things are cheaper or more powerful or whatever the case may be. But Ryzen is more for high-end multitasking and that sort of thing, right? Like, I'll put a 4-core, an 4-core 8-thread or an 8-core 16-thread on a PC, because I'm going to be doing a lot more on a PC than I am on a console, right? Like I'm gonna potentially have a web browser open in the background while playing my game, while also being able to stream music or render a video in the background or whatever the case may be, and not have an issue with that. But with a console, you're more locked into what you're doing, so you're only going to be running a couple apps at a time. If you're watching a video, you're watching a video on it. You're not playing a game at the same time. You're not
Control delete right now on your PC. Go to look at your background tasks. I've got like 60 of them, and I don't even this is a recent install, and I keep my system pretty clean. I've still got 60 things in the background. I don't even know.
I probably got 150. Sometimes I accidentally delete
all that X hamster stuff from the background crap.
yeah, I know. Like one time I deleted my what the hell did I delete my
your antivirus?
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, where's your antivirus?" And I was like, "I don't know. The computer said I wasn't using it, so I deleted it." I don't know.
It was probably the virus that told you weren't using it. Go ahead and delete this.
Yeah, mind you, this is one of the antiviruses that you get, like when you click on install, it's like, this is just security for your computer. You have to like enter like a caption and stuff to remove it.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I've been known to do that stuff. That's that's why I like consoles. Consoles are just easy to me, and it's just something that I just like that idea. But what about this audio thing? Something about Dolby Atmos and
Xbox One S is getting that too. Both systems are getting.
Yeah, actually, even the original Xbox is getting it, because it's using the same audio chip. This is a software upgrade or a firmware upgrade.
Because audio, it does take up some of the pipeline, so they were basically just saying it's more efficient. It's going to be better. Just to boil it down, they did confirm 4K game capture though.
Yeah, 4K game capture, which is, again, we were all right about that. Jez was right about that. We were right about a lot of stuff. And again, it's a little bit too early to say for sure if this doesn't have, like you were saying, Dealer, I'm not ready to condone or admit that this doesn't have any Vega in it.
Yeah, if the Pro uses
you know what I mean?
What are the odds, right?
Yeah.
Well, I
like
speak to a little bit to the audio side of things. So one of the reasons why the current Xbox One on the CPU side does outperform the PS4 is because of the way audio is processed on the machine itself. So it's the same design basically carrying over between each individual console. So base model, S, and now Scorpio.
So they're just running audio in the same setup on the new system because it's efficient.
Exactly. So basically they're just taking the workload completely off the CPU entirely, where, like, say, a PlayStation 4 or Pro, it just runs it on the CPU. So,
gotcha.
Okay, so as far as people doubting it, because we got a lot more people here, over 1,200 watching. Like, just to kind of recap, this thing, from your guys' perspective, is going to do a lot of native 4K games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Native 4K 30 is going to be common on AAA at high games. AAA games at high, and you're even going to have 4K 60, Forza Motorsport, Star Wars Battlefront possibly at high settings as well.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Nah, so I was just saying, believe it or not, that's what.
Oh yeah, yeah. Believe it or not. Well, what's your guys' opinion on, say, the whole price point on this? Because a lot of people were saying, well, it's going to be super expensive, and now from the way I believe that I understand what they're talking about, it might not be this like hugely $600-700 thing that people were trying to talk up.
I mean, no. I mean, if this thing would have been, that's the thing, right? If everybody who was sitting there being like, oh, it's Ryzen, it's Vega, this, yeah, you're probably looking at a $700 plus console. But with the way this is set up, it's engineered smartly. Not just, Microsoft just didn't throw money in and I mean, any company could sit there and throw money in and build a super high-end system and be like, yep, here we go. You got 4K, you got this and that, whatever. Microsoft engineered this smartly based off their knowledge of their software, how all their games are running, and basically made it so this thing can, come at a pretty decent price. I mean, I'm still thinking, $450.
Yep.
If not less.
Yep. And that's the thing. If they didn't tell you it didn't have a Ryzen, you probably wouldn't know it. That's how much it doesn't matter because it's a console, right?
Yeah.
So highly optimized. You're not rendering videos like, at 9K. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not doing these professional workloads. So if it didn't have a Ryzen, you wouldn't know it unless they told you. That's the thing. That's why I say it doesn't matter what it has in it. Testing Polaris and stuff like I do, I think it will be anywhere from 10 to 15 frames at launch faster than any RX 480, and I've proven that card does 4K over 110 FPS on Forza Apex at max settings. I've proven that card does, on average, ultra settings 4K 30 on your AAA games today. It's going to be far more efficient than that card is, and that card's phenomenal. Don't believe some of the bullshit you hear about it. So it's going to be great.
Yeah.
You're going to get PC settings and PC experiences on your console for the first time ever. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not, look, here's the thing, right? Like, even like they already said, and this has been reiterated again by Digital Foundry, that the power is there for the developers to use how they want, right? So if 4K isn't something that they're necessarily interested in doing,
Yeah.
they can hit ultra ultra settings, 1080p 60 all fucking day long on this.
And I'm crushing 1440p ultra on a lot of games, maxed out. So yeah, I mean, if they give you the option, which is very possible with this newer CPU that is definitely not a Jaguar, as we've proven with the 4X boost and cache, it is not, because we got people still joining. It's not the same CPU that's in the X1S or the PS4 Pro. It is different. It's got different cache levels for L1, L2, and it is much more efficient with DX12 built in. And this is straight from Digital Foundry, right? So yes, it's a high possibility you'll get many more options for 60 FPS on many more games.
I mean, look, even just in clock speed, we're 31% ahead of what the original Xbox One and One S are.
What were you saying, Don?
Let me chime in a little bit on the price. So, it's when you take an off-the-shelf component and you do semi-custom, right? You're paying a higher premium to whoever is doing that semi-custom AMD, right? And when you are doing some almost completely custom, like highly customized, right? The cost goes into R&D, not necessarily the actual chip manufacturing cost. So this might be the situation where basically Microsoft is biting the bullet on the R&D side of things, and they can print the cost of those chips considerably lower. So that's kind of how all that works, behind the scenes. I don't think a lot of people realize that sort of thing, because they hear this highly customized thing and they're like, oh crap, that's going to be really expensive. I'm sure that's where Rand's thought process is. But if they're swallowing the cost of the R&D and they're not basically have to pay a premium per chip to AMD for all that customized cost, that's where they're able to save the coin. So
if we were to go around, what would you say the cheapest version would be of this? Because we know there's a 1 terabyte version. There might be a 2 terabyte down the road or whatever. Like, would you say $399 or $449 is out of the realm of possibility?
I would say $400 to $450 is still my guess on this.
Okay.
I think that's the target. When you make a console, you have a target price goal in mind. When before you even start touching any custom silicone. So that's something that they already had it in their thought process, and so I think they know what prices sell as far as consoles go. I mean, So.
I mean,
Well-
I still say the 4 to 450. You're looking at Microsoft has cut out the ES RAM, which is fairly expensive. So they're saving a little bit of money right there. The custom chip manufacturer and that sort of thing isn't quite as expensive, just like the Don here said. There's not quite as expensive as they make it out to be. Microsoft has a lot of experience with research and development. I mean, they've been doing this for how long now, both software and hardware. I mean, this thing, they know that they can't hit a 600 plus price tag and still be competitive or even sell. I mean, I know this thing's supposed to be, kind of probably for like the more hardcore gamers and that sort of thing, but Microsoft still wants to sell the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the more of these things they sell, the better they are, both market-wise and monetarily-wise, and the better they can move forward from all the shit that they got, prior to this, all running it at a blurry 900p and all this other crap.
Yeah.
So I mean,
and people act like that shit. They act like that shit never happened, right? Like the whole resolution stuff, or whatever. They act like that didn't happen, or that they were hoping that people could, forget about it or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, there's no forgetting.
Yeah, I mean, look,
you don't forget when somebody came by and like smacks you in the back of the head every day for 3 years.
Yeah. Like, I mean, look, the whole resolution thing was a whole bunch of crap anyways, right? Like, as I've said multiple times, I'd rather have higher fidelity visuals, which this is going to give you the option of, because it's already been said multiple times that they're going to get developers and people the option to choose either, the 4K at high 60 or, the downsampling of 4K to if you have a 1080p screen, which basically means, your games are going to look, super crisp and buttery smooth no matter what display you have.
I love Hellhammer's pauses because he's like, reminds me of Jim Rome a bit. He's like, so we've got this going on, a little bit of Shadow mixed into, like, it's like, I think that's really funny. But like we definitely surpassed the amount of viewers that I've ever had for a live stream on here, almost 1300.
Yeah, we got almost 1,300 here.
That's crazy, man. So
I can safely claim real quick before we go, $399 for the simple fact that they waited that extra year for this technology to get cheaper. They'll be using either Bristol Ridge or some kind of crazy Raven Ridge APU, and that's exactly why they waited. This is why. So it would be cheaper. If they would have brought it out last year, it would have been substantially more expensive.
If this thing
someone
comes
wants
out
to know what would the PC variant of this cost, dealer? They're asking you.
It's hard to say, because if it's the RX 480 by itself, just the GPU, which is going to be substantially slower than the Scorpio, and it still does all those great things I've shown on the channel, costs $200 at the base model. So that's just a GPU, and you trust me, a PC with that GPU and an older AMD CPU, a really old one that's not new and doesn't really have great any kind of great performance on the DX12 side, is going to be $700 for a pre-built. So
well, the guy with the anime avatar in the chat says you're lying, dealer. I mean, come on. Why would he say you're lying?
What am I lying about?
I don't know. He just
said, just go on Google, idiot, and type in RX 480, and the price will pop up, and you'll be like, oh shit. So yeah, it's like I said, the cheapest pre-built you can get towards this performance is around 5.8 teraflops, much slower memory bandwidth. I think it'll be much less efficient, that pre-built, and like I said, $700. So you want to build that yourself, probably $550, $600, and that's without a 4K Blu-ray player. Well, add another $300 to that if you want a 4K Blu-ray player as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, look, people who sit there who throw out, oh, you can build a system for this much, $400 or $500. The thing is that these are people who either A, probably never built their own system, or B, they're counting into they could build a system themselves with existing parts that they already have to match that.
And,
right?
and C, they think we give a shit. Here's the thing. If you want to play on PC, go play on PC. That's why Microsoft put the games there. They want you to buy them, feed into their revenue stream. They don't care. Trust me.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you're a console guy, you're going to play on console. That's the fact. And third, it's going to destroy the Pro in every single way. It's faster in every single way by far. Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing, right? Like $400 to build this stuff. Yeah, if you already had, you're kind of taking into account that you're building a power supply here, motherboard, CPU, your system memory, the cost of your. I mean, look, the set of system memory on my system alone right now for 16, it's 16 gigs, right? Kind of overkill, really, because I rarely ever hit 8 in usage. $120 just for that.
Yeah. Well,
I
I mean, just to reiterate, like, because I see people going on about the Jaguar thing again. It's not a Jaguar core, right? It's not a Jaguar CPU. It's custom, and it doesn't say Jaguar in the spec sheet. You can go to Eurogamer, which I actually linked in the description. You can read the article of the spec breakdown. It just says 8 custom x86 cores clocked at 2.3 gigahertz. It doesn't say anything about Jaguar because it has the Pro and the Xbox One. It has their specs as well. Xbox One is 8 custom Jaguar cores clocked at 1.75 gigahertz, and the Pro is 8 Jaguar cores clocked at 2.1 gigahertz. So it doesn't say anything about Jaguar cores at all. It's just custom. Like,
Richard's
if you watch the
those predictions, I mean, that's all.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, you won't let it go. Like, you know, like when I first said I was wrong, that's how an adult does it. That's how Richard does it. So like, there's a difference there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he just wanted to seem right. I mean, I get it, but it's like, you know, he went and spread that kind of nonsense, and so you have people out there who are assuming that it's going to be like a Jaguar core or whatever, or maybe they're a little bit let down by that fact. I'm not let down. I wasn't let down by it. I was like, it does seem a little bit weird, but then you look at like I said, the spec thing, and it's like, this stuff is like highly custom. And if you even watch him talk about it, he goes, it's completely custom. You know what I mean? He's like, I've never seen anything like this before. They really went all out. And I think that that's great. I think it's a big fuck you to people that keep saying that Microsoft doesn't care about consoles or they're trying to get out of that. The fact that they seem so genuinely to embrace this, and they want to fight back. I get the feeling they want to win. You know what I mean with this.
Well, it totally makes sense why they invited him now. Like, at first I was like, really, him? Like, I'm not a big fan of Digital Foundry and that sort of thing. But imagine if they kept getting bits and piecemeals of things kind of fed to them, right?
Yeah.
You can see how they can totally take any of this stuff and blow it out of proportion, and how basically everyone would take it and run with it, right? You know, he just talked about Jaguar, and people are running with that just, 20 minutes ago, right? So, like, literally imagine all the other little components that make up this machine. If you take them out of context, they don't sound impressive, but you put them all together, that's where you get something special. So, I think that's the reason why they brought him over. It's like, okay, you're just going to pick apart this, and you're not going to understand what you're talking about. So let's bring you in. Let's bring you to the fold. Let's give you an understanding, because you're just going to say what are you going to say anyway. So let's give you a true.
Well, Don, let me ask you something, because like they mentioned, because you weren't in here, I think, when we were talking about this, 43% more compute than the PS4 Pro. So that pretty much trumps, like we were talking about earlier, that developer from Bulletstorm years ago said that the PS4 was 50% faster than the Xbox One, and people ran with that as being 50% more powerful, and then he clarified that it was 50% faster to develop for. Mm-hmm. So what does this mean? Like the 43% more computes, what's that mean?
They got more muscle.
They
just got more muscle to work with, right? So, and then honestly, the stuff they showed was a not mature development kit, right? It's not 100% mature and ready to go. So, and a lot can be said for the original Xbox when it released. Like, it was out in the market, but it wasn't really mature, and they kind of took a couple left turns when they should have took a right turn. And so they made those corrections. But the difference is they're not taking all the wrong turns before the hardware is being released, because it's being driven by the development's being driven by software design, right? So they're looking at that and how to address these software issues physically and through the hardware. So you're not going to see this sort of learning curve that you're going to typically see on consoles.
Yeah, and I think it's like what they've done is super impressive. Like it's really impressed me, and I'm not really like a tech guy, but the bottom line is he's like, well, they over-delivered on their promises, and that's something you don't see a lot of, like where people are like, well, Microsoft promised us this and this and this, and you see a lot of that. And for Digital Foundry to come out and say, hey, they over delivered on that. I think that's fucking amazing. I think that that pretty much says it all. That Microsoft really went out of their way to make sure they give people exactly what they said they were, and then some.
Yeah, be very, very excited. This thing has not been. It's actually probably more than I expected, and I was already really hyped. There is no negative to this. After learning what they're doing with the software, knowing that it's not a Jaguar, it's a fact. They didn't take the Jaguar out of the Pro or X1. That it's literally got different components. It's not the same chip, and using this all combined is gonna. I'm just excited, man. It's a good day. Everyone else should take nothing but positives from this, and it will come in around $400.
Yeah, I mean, there's no negatives to take away from it, really, right? I mean, if you were sitting there expecting this thing to be a $1,200 plus PC gaming rig with a Ryzen and a Vega GPU, again, as I've said multiple times, it was not going to be that. And, GKB even said that. And I believe a bunch of people even said, Dealer, I think, even said that it was, a low possibility. I mean, it's basically everybody who got hyped up for that basically overhyped themselves, right? Now, and the people who are out there saying there's going to be a bottleneck or any of this other stuff, clearly it's not going to be, that big of a deal. If you haven't read or watched the tech video or paid attention, their command processor, which is DX12, fully enabled, takes the render time 50% less.
Yeah. So this guy,
it's taken thousands of lines and thousands of cycles down to 11.
Yeah. So Dealer, this guy wants to know. He's asking you if people argue it's a Jaguar CPU, what should they say?
Jaguars don't have that much L1 and L2 cache, for one. And secondly, the guy referred to it as an evolved Jaguar because Microsoft never confirmed that. Let's be 100% sure. If you want to know exactly what to say, I just did a video on it today. A lot of good stuff there. And there's a reason I made a video called Why Ryzen May Not Be Xbox Scorpio CPU. I made this forever ago, right?
Yeah.
So I actually just got a comment on Facebook from a moron that didn't even watch it. It said, told that L. So that was hilarious. But, yeah.
what L are you
recurring theme.
I don't understand. We were pretty much right on almost everything. I mean,
at the farthest we strayed away was, I don't know. I mean, we were pretty damn accurate. I mean, Puma was the chip I said in the first Scorpio benchmark GPU test video I did, a modified Puma, and it's going to be more capable than any Puma today, which is more than possible. So Phil Spencer did reference balance, and that means pretty much no bottlenecks, or if there is one, they found a way to get around it, right? That's the point of that LCD display on the dev kits. I don't know, man. There's no negative. Best of all, you're going to save a lot of money. All your games forward, backward compatible. You get boost to all your games without patches. Yeah. And then many others, will get a patch as well. So once again, big video on it today. Check it out. Yeah. And, be sure and subscribe to everybody here in the show. The Don, you got shit coming up, bro?
Yeah, the Don, I'm sure.
Sometimes I do graphic stuff and I post it. I don't make a big deal out of it or anything.
Ah, come on.
but I do a lot of ZBrush, a lot of 3D Max, that sort of stuff, developing my games. So sometimes I take assets and just make a little clip for you guys to see later. So
that's pretty kick-ass though, man. Like, so Don, you're gonna say possibly $3.99 as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been holding on to $3.99, and either I'm going to take another L on this one, or or it's going to be right. So I have to get one of these right. But I think it's going to be. I think that was the target goal, was $3.99. If they went a little bit over their budget, like a contingency, just like when you build something in a house, right? Their contingency was, I think, $450.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see what ends up being. But I think the custom is kind of their solution to keeping the price down.
Yeah, I'm thinking $3.99 as well, because even if the Pro drops $50, you're still going to have a significantly more powerful console. And with like you said, so a lot of people are like, $3.99, how can they do that? But you explained that earlier, that Microsoft could take an R&D hit on this, help pump this out, right?
Yeah, so basically all they're trying to do is cover their cost on hardware manufacturing with their
because Digital Foundry was speculating at $4.99, so I think that they maybe were speculating a little bit high from just what I saw.
Well, the cooling system is pretty sophisticated, so but when that's usually not done on mass production, but Microsoft's done it for a while now with the Surface team quite a bit. I mean, I look at my I have the Surface Studio. The high-end Surface Studio, and that thing's got some juice, and that little box is tinier. Where all the processing is actually happening, it's tinier than an Xbox One S, and
Yeah.
it's more powerful than an Xbox One S. So,
And they said no vents on the top. I was like, I was a little bit surprised by that. Like no vents on the top.
It all
It
comes out
pushes
the
it
back.
Yeah. So like that was another piece of surprising information. This thing, guys, obviously far superior than the PS4 Pro. Meant to do games in 4K. Older games, even 900p games on Xbox One can easily do native 4K. They didn't lie. Like I don't know, like the checkerboard stuff. Like they didn't even mention that. It looks like they're going like 4K or bust. You're probably going to have some options.
Checkerboarding takes up to 3 weeks to optimize properly on a Pro, and it takes 2 days to port.
Yeah, developers don't like it. That's why you see 1440p on Fallout 4.
It doesn't
on the Pro right now.
I honestly don't think checkerboarding looks good. I think standard upscaling is better, personally.
Welcome to the club. We've all been saying we don't think checkerboarding looks good. We said like it can look okay when you stand still to take a screenshot or whatever. But as far as the being able to look good where you're actually playing the game, I don't think it does. Because like I thought, Horizon Zero Dawn, that game looks good for taking pictures if you're standing still or in the picture mode, right? Like you can tell that that's what they tailored that to. And same thing with Quantum Break. I took some fucking amazing pictures of Quantum Break that looked great, but when you started moving around, that shit got blurry. You could just tell.
I'm not a fan of checkerboarding in any form or fashion because I'm playing with optimization and stuff like that on my own personal title. I'm like, yeah, hell no to this.
We want to know more about that secret game. We know you're working on like StarCraft 3 or something, man.
Yeah, something
I always want to blow it out of proportion, but honestly, it's one of those things when I've been playing with it, I'm like, well, do I just think this is fun because I made it, or is it, or is it?
Well, you got to make sure Crap can beat it. So just let him play
it's got to have a Crap Gamer mode where it's super easy.
Can we call it that? Can we call it Crap mode?
You can call it Crap mode, man. Feel free, Crap Gamer mode, man. First thing I do, narrative mode, easy mode activated. Yes, I can play shooters.
Make it so that
Make it mode and a King Mega mode. King Mega mode is just A button. That's the game.
Make the Crap Gamer mode so that all the enemies are just cardboard cutouts, sort of like that quest on Fable 3, and you just go up there and just knock them over with like one hit. That's like Crap Gamer style there.
Look, guys. I know what you're saying in the chat. And we're about to wrap this up in a minute. He says $399 is not a premium price. Premium. You guys are like taking that word out of context. The Xbox One S is $250 right now. It could drop down to $199. So anything above that would be a premium price, right?
Bill's already talked about that too. He said he shouldn't have used the word premium. He really meant it's for the hardcore, the guys that know why more power is better, and if that's what they prefer, it's for them.
And premium is also an indicative of quality as well, right? So it's just like how I would consider the Xbox Elite controller a premium device, but it's not. The cost of that isn't out of proportion with what it's actually less than say a scuff controller or something similar than that.
I think premium just referring to the used MR in the console. Just MR.
Hey, guess what? So Forbes came out with an article just now. Will Xbox Scorpio be the beginning of the end for the PlayStation 4? Game over? ? I shit you not. Like it just came out. Game over PS4. That is absolutely.
Didn't they just say game over Xbox like 2 days ago?
Like yesterday, there was an article that said game over Xbox because it didn't have any exclusive, and it's the same guy.
Yeah,
I think it's the same guy who wrote this. Like, what is this?
Desperate
tomfoolery.
It's the clicks, bro. It's the clicks.
It is. I guess so, but holy crap, I never seen anything like that. That is like impressive. But anyway, it is like a huge win for us Xbox fans. Good day. If you're an Xbox fan, you finally can celebrate. You're going to have the best versions of all this stuff. Get you a 4K TV now. Save up for a Scorpio. I'm going to guess as well $399. I'm going to stick by that.
Look,
on the high end.
You don't even need a 4K TV though to take advantage of this, right? Like if you want to get the system and you want to hold off another year for better deals for 4K TVs or whatever, your games are still going to look much better with the. You can either downsample it or you can run it at ultra settings, 1080, whatever, because they're going to give you the option on all this stuff, especially on the first-party games. You're going to be getting 16x anti-aliasing on all your games, Xbox 360, Xbox One, You know, all this stuff is all going to be across the board on this.
That's extremely high level of AA, man. Holy shit.
It is. Not only
Forza
that,
Horizon 2 was running 4x, just so people know. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty ridiculous.
and that was wizardry. They were like, "Holy crap, it's wizardry!" They did amazing. 4x MSAA, and that's supposed to be impossible on Xbox One. But they also mentioned, I don't know if you watched all the videos, that something called they mentioned ultra settings a lot. So apparently, like, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, it might be able to do 4K, but will it be ultra?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, this is equivalent to ultra settings right here." You know what I mean? Like, in the distance, he goes, "You don't even really need that." Like, he's like, those cars way out in the distance, you don't even need those to be ultra. So when they optimize it, maybe because, you know what I mean, they can even bring that back and get even better performance. So that, to me, answers a lot of questions. Obviously, there's still more questions to be answered, but we at least get this initial kind of tease about Scorpio, and I can see why they've been extremely quiet and confident lately. Like, it's all very impressive. Good day to be Xbox fans. Please hit that like button. Dealer, do you got anything to close with?
Already getting messages. You called it. Yeah. Yeah. Once again, we're all gonna have more and more videos on this. I did one today. I'm sure Crap will have another one out later. And if you want to know more specifics, of course, if you're just joining or you didn't catch the beginning, we got some really good stuff at the beginning of this episode here. So go back and rewatch this, and also leave a like. It really helps. So
yeah, leave a like. It's very appreciated. Don, what do you got going on?
Just follow me on Twitter or Xbox, the Don space KTR.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Kiss that ring. So
kiss that ring, exactly. And we got Hellhammer. What do you got going on? You might do a video, maybe.
Yeah, I'm gonna put one up today by the end of the evening. Hopefully, I gotta work on getting some stuff edited together and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm gonna have
awesome.
a little bit more information and that sort of thing up.
Hellhammer, your video releases are like PlayStation 4's like, you gotta just do it, man.
Yeah, just do one.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do it. You know, I'm just kidding. If it's just like you know, something simple, it's probably just gonna be going over some stuff, going over some more of the technical aspects and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Also confirm this thing has a 4K Blu-ray drive. So Sony getting that smackdown again with that. Like, I don't
4K Blu-ray drive, 16x anti-aliasing on all your games, Xbox 360 backwards compatible titles, Xbox One, doesn't matter. Full access to the power, so the dynamic resolution is going to be running. You know, any game that's dynamic resolution like Halo 5, anything like that, Gears of War 4, all going to be running at the top resolution with 16x AA on, even without a patch. Which obviously these games are going to get patched.
Hell yeah. Very exciting times, man. Great day, man. Soak it in. It's going to be fun. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you, guys. Hey, thanks, Dealer, Don, and Hellhammer for joining me. I know it's fucking early, but, man, I felt like we had to strike while the iron's hot. So we'll catch you guys later. Thanks.
Yeah.